Morn from Orange Goblin. We're here at the beautiful Bearstone Festival in Slunj, Croatia. It was a case of circumstances, really. I mean, as a kid growing up, I always wanted to be a professional footballer. And when I was 15, I moved away from my home on the coast of England to London. And was fortunate enough to play football for 2 years for a Premier League team, Queen's Park Rangers. But during that period, I've kind of sort of fallen out of love with the game and fallen more in love with heavy metal and music in general. And it was there that I met Martin, who introduced me to a lot of sort of more extreme metal bands that I'd never heard of. And over time, we kind of became friends with the likes of Joe and Pete, and eventually decided to form a band ourselves. I'd never played an instrument growing up. I'd never sort of ever considered the idea of being in a band, so it was not, one of those things that I'd always aspired to do. But we enjoyed it. It was fun, and that was the whole idea of forming the band in the first place. And it kind of snowballed. We were very fortunate being based in London around the time, the mid-90s, when there was a boom of what we call stoner rock. But all the big American bands like Monster Magnet, Fu Manchu, Caius, Nebula, they all came to Europe and they all came through London. And any time they played, we were asked to support. And quickly we established ourselves on the scene. Lee Dorian from Cathedral was a fan and offered us a record deal. And it just sort of grew from there, really. So, yeah, I mean, there's always been motivation to make music. As I say, I'm not a musician myself, but, the reason you start a band with friends is because you want to create the perfect band, the stuff you want to hear. And it's a mixture of all of our favourite bands, and that's what it continues to be. And obviously, as alluded to, there's the idea of touring the world and free drinks and everything, so yeah. Well, yeah, we get asked about the name a lot. I mean, prior to Orange Goblin, we were called Our Haunted Kingdom, and we didn't think that name suited the new style of music we were playing. Because when we first started, we was more a death metal band in the vein of Paradise Lost and Anathema and My Dying Bride and those sort of Northern English bands. So, when stoner rock happened, we'd kind of developed our sound a bit more into the Cathedral, Black Sabbath, Troubles, and Vitus, Pentagram.
The real shit.
And we wanted something with a sort of 70s sounding name, and because we were all big fans of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, we opted for Goblin. And we like bands with a colour in their name, Blue Cheer, Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd. So Orange was an obvious choice because it had been.
Why not?
So we went with Orange Goblin. Yeah, I mean, I work as a booking agent when I'm not doing Orange Goblin, so it's my job really to look for new talent. And, I think it's a lot different scene than it was when I first started out. When we started as a band, there was no internet, there was no kind of Spotify's, there was no band camps and things. So these days, bands, I won't say have it easy, but it's easier to market yourself and get yourself heard across the world. We used to have to send tapes and write letters, things like that. There wasn't a great deal of heavy metal press for us to approach. So we did it the hard way. But that's not a bad thing that today bands can be exposed on a worldwide basis, because it opens up the market. And I think heavy metal in general is probably more prevalent and well known worldwide because of that. And that's why you see bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden still selling out stadiums and selling millions of records and being played on radio. And that is true in the underground scene as well. There's death and black metal bands selling vast quantities of records because the exposure that the internet gives them. Well, I mean, obviously Black Sabbath is our biggest influence, our favourite band. And we never toured with them as Black Sabbath. We did a few shows with them in Poland when they toured as Heaven and Hell with Dio on vocals. That was kind of life-affirming experience. Personally, I'd love to tour with Iron Maiden. Growing up, Maiden was one of the sole reasons that we started a band. Same as Metallica. We got to do some shows with Metallica on the Soundwave tour down in Australia, which was amazing. And we've been fortunate to tour with a lot of our heroes. We've toured with Danzig and Queens of the Stone Age and Alice Cooper and Ronnie James Dio and Heaven and Hell, Cathedral. So, there's not many things that we still aspire to do. It's a very fortunate position, being a musician and being able to see the world, get paid for it, and meet people, experience new cultures, and go to places like this. I mean, look around you, it's paradise here. So, it's great. Well, it was a very confusing period because Brexit kind of happened directly after the whole COVID thing. So there was no touring, there was no festivals. And then when everything started up again, it was very confusing because we also had to navigate our way around Brexit, which, there was no really set guidance for us to follow. The government kind of sort of introduced Brexit and all these new rules, but didn't tell us what they were. So we weren't sure, and people were scrambling to get carnets and things like that. And I'm not going to lie, I know as a booking agent, touring in the UK for international artists has become more of a headache. It's just not only the need to get the COS work permits, but you also need to factor in carnets, and there's still confusion over that. But I'd like to think that as we go forward, things will become a bit clearer. I mean, I personally hate the idea of Brexit. I think it was a terrible idea. It was voted for by morons and had no idea what they were voting for. And I'm blessed that I can still travel to countries like this and meet people like yourselves, because that's one thing that being part of the EU was so good about. It was, we could travel freely across borders and go places, and now all of a sudden, as a UK citizen, we're kind of looked down upon as these people that didn't want to be a part of that. But that's not the case for most people. I think there was a very select few that didn't really get what they was voting for, mainly racists. And hopefully the decision will be reversed at some point in the near future, and we can go back to being a part of the EU again.
Good.
I think everybody always says that the one regret I have is not starting sooner, but I guess in reality, you need to have that journey to reach a certain point to make you realise you need to make a change. And I had that. I mean, I've had 25 years of touring the world, living out and partying, and I got to the point where it was having an effect on my professional life, an effect on my personal relationships, and my role in the band, and everything about my life. And I was like, I don't need this anymore. It was making me ill. I'd reached the point where I was drinking too much, doing too many other things that were going to put me in an early grave. So I made a conscious decision to just stop. And I thought it would be difficult being around festivals and musicians, but I was so sort of set on doing it that nothing was going to change my mind. And I've no regrets about that. I'm not going to go back to them old ways. And I feel great for it. I've never felt fitter, I've never felt healthier. My performance on stage is always better. My focus on my job is better. My relationship with my wife is better than it's ever been. There's no downside to looking after yourself. So you only do positive things, you prolong your life, you enjoy things. And I still have fun.
You're pulling 50 now. You're 50 years old now.
I'll be 50 next year, yeah. So rather than sort of talking about the end of the band because I don't feel like doing it anymore, we're looking at prolonging a career, I'm planning another 50 years.
Yeah, another 50.
Well, I mean, we are so happy to be here. I've been in touch with Marion for a couple of years now, and had a band of my Mother Vulture here last year. Came home with nothing but good things to say about this festival. And when we discussed with Marion about Orange Goblin coming here, it was a no-brainer. We was like, we're only doing a very select few festivals this year. Bearstone had to be one of them. We're really happy to be here. We haven't played in Croatia since, I think it was 2013. We played in Zagreb. We had a great time then, and we're looking forward to having a great time tonight. So get your dancing shoes on and come down for a boogie.